In this video, I would like to help you understand how to successfully complete this course and make the most out of what is available at Applied AI course, right? So I'll go step by step and detail in lot of detail explaining each of the core strategies that you can employ to successfully complete this course. First and foremost, if there is one thing that have to make it extremely clear at the outset is that you need to work hard. We have 140 plus hours of content which explains most of the concepts very elegantly, and we try to simplify the concepts as much as possible, right? But at the end of the day, to complete these 140 hours of content, you need to work very hard. Let's not fool ourselves thinking that you can finish it with minimal effort. No, there is a lot of content, there is a lot of learning that is to be done, and hence you need to work hard. We have had students who completed this whole course in 3 weeks by putting in 14 to 16-hour days, right? So there are students who have actually finished the whole course in 3 to 4 weeks. In 3 weeks, they finished all the content. In 2 weeks, they finished all the assignments. And they've put in a lot of effort, and that's highly appreciated. I'm not saying everybody should put 14 to 16-hour days, but you should make sure that you're at least putting in 10 hours per week. You should at least put in 10 hours per week to successfully finish the course in 6 months or so. Again, everybody has a different learning rate. Not everybody learns at the same speed. So one of the key things that I wanted to explain when you're learning content, right, is what is the strategy that you want to employ when you learn. There are multiple strategies. Each of us have our own methodology of learning. Some people do depth first, which basically means they take a concept and they dive deep. They try to understand everything related to the concept before they move on to the next concept. That's called the depth first strategy of learning. Versus there is another pool of people like me who prefer breadth first. So if I take a concept, first I learn the core concepts behind it, and I learn other related concepts. So I go from concept 1 to concept 2 to concept 3. I learn all the concepts breadth-wise, which basically means I learn one after the other. I don't go too deep, too mathematical into any one of them. But once I finish all the concepts, then I start to go deeper. So a good analogy or a good comparison to this is like peeling an onion. This is a very interesting strategy to learn, which has worked really, really well for me, not just in machine learning, in anything that I've learned over the last 2 decades, right? So first I try to learn a concept at a very high level. I try to get the core idea itself. I try to understand what is this doing, or what can I achieve with this, right? I learn the very, very outer. This is like an onion, right? These are all like layers of an onion. Onion has one layer inside another layer, right? First, I try to learn the outer layer, which is asking the very simple questions, which is, okay, what can I do with this technique, right? Very, very high level questions like, what can I do with this technique? And why am I learning this technique and things like that? And as I go deeper and deeper, so first I learn the outer shell, right? Then I start going deeper and deeper. Then I start asking more harder questions. Why am I learning? What happens if I change this algorithm slightly? What is the relationship between this algorithm and other algorithms? But first I start at the outer core and start digging in slowly into the onion, right, as I learn. And learning something like machine learning requires lots of patience. There are lots of interconnected concepts that you'll understand better when you learn more concepts, right? You may not learn everything about a concept 1, let's call a concept C1 as a concept 1. You may not be able to learn everything as soon as you read concept 1. Maybe there is a concept C6, which if you learn, you can connect the dots. You can connect the dots and understand C1 better after you learned a later concept like C6. Right? There are a lot of interconnections because remember, machine learning and deep learning and most of data science have a lot of interconnected ideas and concepts. So you need to have lots of patience. You can't be impatient trying to learn everything in a single go. It is an iterative process. It's not a single go shot. I've seen a lot of people who do depth first learning who get stuck. Like we've seen students in our own course who do depth first learning, who may not have patience, who get stuck just in the first chapter itself. They get stuck in the first chapter itself for months together, and they're diving like just the Python chapter or the exploratory data analysis chapter, our very first initial chapters. They spend months going through them. They dive too deep into it, and then they lose the energy to do the whole course. So my recommendation is avoid doing depth first, right? We've designed the course in such a way that you get very, very good, detailed knowledge of every concept by the end of it. My recommendation is think of it like peeling an onion, have the patience, and do breadth first, right? So the next thing is the course itself. We have organized the course itself. We have spent many, many hours and days and months or trying to think what is the best way to organize this course, right? So if you go to our web page here, if you go to our web page, we start with the basics of Python first. So if you already know Python, of course you can skip it. That's why we don't even have a mandatory assignment for Python, right? So just keep flowing with it. We have some assignments that are optional that you could choose to do or choose not to do. But once you finish all these basics in Python, again remember we have not covered Python in complete detail. Python is a vast subject. I mean, there are like tens or even hundreds of books explaining various aspects of Python, right? We are not trying to cover the whole of Python. We're trying to cover only those aspects of Python that are most important for data science and machine learning, right? And if there is a concept that is not explained in detail, please be guaranteed that we'll explain it later, right? We didn't want to overwhelm. We don't want people to go depth first and get stuck somewhere. We are better off trying to do a breadth first strategy, going step by step by step. And we have spent, as I mentioned, all the concepts and videos are so organized that the organization part itself, we try to make the content feel like a story, connecting one concept to other concept as you go from one to other. So my suggestion, if you want to go through the course, is to go sequentially. Go through the course sequentially, go one video after the other, so that you have a nice pattern of understanding why something came up. Because when we designed the course, when we made these videos, we spent lot of time trying to build this whole content like a storytelling exercise. And hence, in a story, you can't just go to one random section and try to understand everything. That doesn't happen. Think of it like Harry Potter or Mahabharata, right? It's one sequence after the. It's a sequence of nice interconnected things, and that's what we try to achieve with content organization. And as far as sufficiency of the content is concerned, we have made this content self-sufficient in many ways. So this content is sufficient for most machine learning jobs. So if you want to crack machine learning jobs, this content is more than sufficient for most machine learning jobs. I won't say all, because there will be some machine learning jobs which are like which need lots and lots of math, especially if you're joining an extremely heavy duty research organization. But this course is more than sufficient for almost 99% of machine learning jobs. And it's self-sufficient, which means you can actually flow through this and understand most of the concepts. And that's how we've designed the course. The next important thing that I want to bring to your notice is please make notes. Please take some time and make notes, because your notes are very personalized to you, right? You'll understand better. You'll be able to revise things better if you write your own notes. There's a very nice notes that one of the students sent us. I really liked his strategy. So what one of our students did was he actually took screenshots of every concept, right? Of every equation or every concept, and he added his own notes on top of it, right? This is his own notes, but instead of writing all these equations again from scratch, he just simply took screenshots. This is a very nice strategy because you learn the concept using my own personal handwriting, right? So it's easy for you to connect the dots. So this is also a very interesting strategy that I've seen work very well for some students. So they write their own notes, of course. They write their own notes here. Okay, they in the terms that they understand. But as far as diagrams are concerned, as far as general structures are concerned, again, you do not take the screenshot of the whole screen. You might sometimes want to take a screenshot only of partial section of a screen, right? So this is like a very, very nice example. Here, this person only just took a partial screenshot, not the full screenshot, right? This is one way of writing your own notes by leveraging what is already written on the black screen for you, right? So you can mix the writings that I have done on the blackboard, and you can mix it with your own writings and with your own notes. This is one strategy. Of course, there are other strategies of note taking, which is people just open a notebook and write it from scratch. But notes, I would say this is mandatory if you want to successfully do this course, because without notes, revision is almost impossible. Let's be very, very frank about it. Then comes a very interesting technique that I love, that I often follow when I learn a new concept. It's called the Feynman Technique. Richard Feynman is one of the most legendary physicists of 20th century. He's like the godfather of, he's also considered, forget about his physics contributions, he's considered one of the greatest teachers of physics. So there is a series of books called Lectures on Physics by Richard Feynman. One of my best physics books in my 11th and 12th class. I even have a copy. I even have the whole set in my study room today, and I enjoy reading it once in a while. Actually, I read Feynman's lectures before I started recording these videos because they were a great inspiration on how to simplify content. Okay, having said that, what is Feynman technique? Again, if you want to learn any concept or any idea, the fastest way is to just Google search. What did I do here? I just went and searched Feynman technique. Instead of looking at all the results, I went search results. I went for image results, right? So this is a nice image result. So let's open up this image, right? So Feynman technique has these three parts. Okay, very very interesting technique, and I love it when I do it myself, and I often do it when I learn a new concept. So you pick and study a topic. Okay, any new concept that you learn. The second important thing is explain the topic to someone who is unfamiliar with the topic. So in your case, you might say, I've learned a concept. Now try to explain that concept to a friend of yours. Open a notebook, sit next to it, and imagine your friend sitting next to you, right? This could be you, and this could be your friend, right? And open a notebook and start writing on the notebook, trying to explain as if you're explaining a friend in very simple language. If you want, please do it in your own mother tongue. Mix English and your mother tongue, because we are often very good explaining concepts in our own mother tongues, right? So just write it down. Try to explain this concept to a friend of yours. I mean, you don't require a physical friend. Just imagine that there's a friend next to you. Just imagine, right? And open a notebook and speak out loud. It's okay. It's perfectly okay to speak out loud. Try to explain it to a friend. And what happens when you try to explain a concept that you learn is you start identifying that there are some gaps in your understanding. Because reading a topic is one step. Explaining it requires much more clarity for yourself. And when you try to explain it to a virtual friend, again, remember, you don't actually need a physical friend, right? When you try to explain it to a friend verbally on a piece of paper, you'll understand that there are some concepts you don't know. So when you realize that there are some concepts you don't know, you go back to the content, go back to the literature, go back to the videos and relearn. See where you missed out, what you missed out, right? This is a very, very powerful technique called the Feynman technique, something which I have used extensively in my own learning experiences, and it works phenomenally well. So the core concepts of Feynman technique is basically explain to a friend, explain to a virtual friend. You don't require a physical person there. Explain it to a virtual friend, and that helps you a lot in getting a clarity yourself. Actually, frankly speaking, while doing this course, I gained a lot more clarity, a lot more understanding of the concepts than I had before I started this course. Even though I knew most of the concepts here, my clarity of understanding deepened, right? Then the next interesting idea is called spaced interval learning. The concept of spaced interval learning is this. A lot of people complain that, okay, I've gone through your content, but I've forgotten everything. We forget a lot of things, especially new concepts. So there is a very nice scientific research. And this is again a Google search. What did I do here? I just went in and I Google searched. I just said spaced interval learning and I did Google image search, right? So spaced interval learning is a very interesting concept. What it says is this. Suppose you learned it on day 0. Suppose you learned a concept on day 0. And this curve is called the forget curve. By day 1, you'll only remember 40 to 50% of the concept. You would have forgotten 40 to 50% of the concept. And if you don't revise, probably by day 10 or something, you'll only revise 10 to 20% of the concept. You've forgotten 90% of the concept itself. So what educationalists and psychologists suggest is, after you learn it once, repeat it after one day. By repeating it, your learning again goes back to 100%. So your learning fell down from the time you learned. In one day, you've forgotten half of it. So you again revise it after one day. You learn it again. And then after your first revision, you're going to forget slower, because you've revised it already once. You've learned it once on day 0 and you've revised it once. So you're going to forget it slower. Okay, then the next argument is, again, after a few days, after you've forgotten some of it, again repeat, again revise. And when you revise 3 or 4 times, you will almost remember it forever. And especially if you use Feynman technique. This is what I use a lot. Okay. So when I learn a concept, after one day, first I learn the concept. I write my notes, all of that, right? Then after one day, where I've forgotten half of it, I try to explain the concept using the Feynman technique to myself or to a friend of mine, or a virtual friend. I don't actually need a physical person. I just open my notebook, I start speaking out in my mother tongue, and I mix English to it. Right? So after one day, I employ Feynman technique as a great strategy to revise. Then I realize what all I have forgotten or what all I have not had a clarity of. So I go back to the content and I get a clarity of all of that. So one day is the first time that I revise. This is my first revision. My second revision happens after 1 week. Right? So first time when I revised, I employed Feynman technique. The second time, after 1 week, what I recommend you to do is, for this course, we have question and answers at the end of every chapter. These are basically questions that are often asked in interviews. Right? So after 1 week, my recommendation is go through each of these interview questions. Try to answer these questions on your own. Wherever you can't answer, just go back to the video. So let me show you an example here. So if you go to our course here, right? If you go to our course here, let me show you, right? Suppose you have these optional assignments. Let's go down. So you have these interview questions here, right? So you have these questions and answers, let's say. So if you go to this page, this has all the interview questions related to probability, right? And when you get these questions and we've collected over 500, 600 questions, and we're increasing the pool of questions every day, right? So when you go to the interview questions, so look at this. The first question is, what is PDF? If you've forgotten what is it, you can just go and click on this link. It will take you to the video where we explain what is PDF, right? So we have a sequence of questions here, like 24 questions here. And for each of these questions, the concept has been very clearly explained in the video. And at the same time, we also have some self-learning questions. These are external links, right, that we strongly recommend you go through, right? Again, no single course, no single person, no single blog can cover everything. So hence, we have given lots of external links and references for you to go through. And if you have some good interview questions, please post them here and we'll try to answer them as fast as possible, or we'll provide you links to learn, right? Having said that, so at the end of 1 week, right, in the second repetition, use the question and answers or interview questions that we have at the end of every chapter. Now comes the third revision, which should happen at the end of 1 month. So first you learned it on day 0, you revised it after 1 day using Feynman technique. After 1 week, you went through the questions and answers as a way of revision. Third, after 1 month, again employ Feynman technique. I am sure, because this is something that I have personally used. If you do this 1 day, 1 week, 1 month with Feynman technique and interview questions, you will remember 90+% of the content that you're learning. Right? And some of our students have actually tried this and it has worked phenomenally well for them. That's the second thing. So the other thing that is required to finish a course of this size and this scale, in addition to hard work, is discipline. Right? So my recommendation here is have some fixed hours. Have some fixed hours. You can say, okay, I come back from college or office and most of my work is done by 9 p.m. So you can sit for 2 to 3 hours at night from 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. Fix a time and learn and cater that time completely to learning this course. My fixed hours personally are, I prefer waking up at 4, starting everything at 4:30. From 4:30 to 8:30, the 4 hours that I get early in the morning are my golden hours. I learn a lot of stuff. I actually do a lot of videos in these early hours. Right? I actually do a lot of reading also in these first 4 hours, because these are my golden hours. Because in these 4 hours, there is no disturbance. Right? I don't get phone calls. I literally turn off my phone. I don't check my email. I don't check my WhatsApp, nothing. And I tell my family very clearly that these are my study hours. Please don't disturb me. Right? So in these 4 hours, I get to do more than regular 10 hours work, because I'm fully focused. I'm fully disciplined. I don't move from my desk and I continuously work. So having fixed hours will help you have discipline. Right? You can fix any hours. It could be early morning like me, or it could be evening, or it could even be your, you can actually do it even your even your commute time, right? If you're driving to work, or if you're taking a public transport like a bus or a train to work, just use that whole public that commute time, right? A lot of people in the world spend 1 to 2 hours every day commuting. Use the whole commute time to watch videos on your mobile phone. Why not? Right? But having fixed hours is very, very important because that will keep you disciplined, right? So next thing, a very important concept in this course, I can't emphasize this enough, is learning to learn. No course in the world can teach everything, and no single person has the knowledge even to teach everything, right? And no single person can explain everything perfectly and to the best that is possible universally. So our suggestion, this is one of the core outcomes that we want in this course. At the end of this course, we want you to have all the skills to continue your learning. Learning is a lifelong journey. It doesn't start and stop with this course. It's something that you have to do throughout your life. Once you stop learning, that's it. Your game is up. Your game is up and you can just retire that day. Okay, I can't emphasize this enough. So you need to learn new concepts. And one way to do it is, of course, thankfully we have Google search. A lot of people don't use Google image search, which is a phenomenal method to actually learn, to actually get visual stuff, because we humans are visual creatures, right? So there are lots of brilliant resources online like Stack Overflow and Stack Exchange. We have Quora, and we have lots of blogs. Let's see an example. Actually, I wanted to show you an example, right? Suppose if we learn some of these techniques later. Suppose there are two algorithms called support vector machines and logistic regression. Suppose you wanted to understand the difference between both of them better than what is explained in the videos. Just type SVM versus logistic regression. You get lots of nice references here. This is by Stack Exchange, which is owned by Stack Overflow, which is like a question answer repository for technical topics. It's like Quora for technical stuff. Phenomenal resource, right? Similarly, somebody has actually written a nice blog here, right? There is also a Quora answer for it, right? There is also an article on Wheelie's blog, right? That's one thing. Of course, there are images. I really enjoy images because you get lots of nice slideshows. And look at this. Okay, there is actually a slide here where somebody explains what is the difference between logistic regression and SVM. It's actually a lecture slide, right? Again, you get lots of diagrammatic stuff. You get lots and lots of diagrammatic stuff, and we humans enjoy diagrams more than text, right? So here is another connection between SVM and logistic regression, right? So what happens is, I recommend you, because your learning should not start and stop with this course. It should continue long after this course is over. And you have terrific resources on the internet, especially for machine learning and deep learning. There are tons and tons and tons of resources, right? And please, whenever you don't understand a concept, the first thing you should do is actually do Google search, image search, and check out articles on Stack Overflow, Quora, blogs, etc. And if you find something very interesting, please post it. Please send it to us. We will surely add it to the additional reading sections, right? The most important thing is what happens when you get stuck. What happens if you don't understand a concept, right? Our suggestion is, of course, some of the students are sending us an email, but we would say, instead of sending an email, it is better to place a comment on the video page. For example, let me show you an example here, right? So this is actually one of the videos, right? One of the random videos that I've taken from the whole course. And here we have a student whose name is GSKR82, and he says, at this time, it's told that negative of pseudo residual blah blah blah. This is his question. Now what happens is, when he posts a comment here, the other students who come after him, as soon as they watch this video, I recommend every student to actually go through the comment section, right? Because through comments, your learning will improve. Because this is a question asked by one of the students, right? When somebody asks this question here, we immediately, as fast as possible, within just a few hours, in some cases even under an hour, we give a detailed response. Look at this here. I remember I gave this response, right? I clearly say that this is a very good question. Since it's a very good question, I actually went ahead and made a video. If you click on this, you get a YouTube video explaining exactly this question and explaining you what happened. So here we have given 2 videos for the student to understand. And by doing this, other students also benefit. So if you leave a comment on the video page, you will certainly get an answer faster, number one. More importantly, other students who come after you will benefit. If you send us an email, right, it's just a one-to-one conversation between you and us. Other students do not benefit. And we want everybody to benefit from the replies we give so that everybody's learning will improve. Right? Similarly, here somebody asked a different question. Right? Of course, this is not a very hard or a very detailed question that I needed to make a video to explain. Again, this answer was provided by me. Right? So here I just say, okay, here is the simple explanation for it within 2 to 3 sentences. And the student got it. I'm very happy. Right? So when you understand, when you get your answer, feel free to just say, okay, I got it, I didn't get it. So having these conversations on the comment section of every video are super useful because they help you and they help other students who come after you. And we've given text responses in case it's easy, in case the question is not too complex. In some cases, we've even uploaded audio answers because we felt it's better we explain it to, instead of writing a lot of text, sometimes it's just better to record an audio and put the audio response there. And we are doing lots of video responses nowadays, especially if the question requires us to actually make additional video. For example, for this content itself, we've done like literally half an hour of additional content because this is a very good question. It's a brilliant question actually, right? Very good question. It took us time to answer this because we had to make these videos and send them out. But it took us almost a day because we had to write notes, we had to create content, all of that. But the student will benefit a lot because of this answer, and other students also will benefit a lot. And whenever you're going through a video, please go through the comment section first. Any question you have, most likely it is already answered in the comment section. If your question is not answered in the comment section, of course, please feel free to write a new comment. But please check the existing comments first. Please check the existing comments because your question may have been already answered. Right? So you get an answer much more quickly than just sending us a comment or writing as an email. Right? Because your question, because we've seen this happen a lot of times. 20 to 30% of questions that students or comments that students put have already been answered in the comment section. You just need to be a little patient and go through the comment section. And if there is some concepts which are hard to explain through video responses, comments or anything, we will call you. We will make a phone call or a Skype chat to help you resolve it. Our goal is to build an extremely customer-centric company. We want to have phenomenal quality of service. We want to resolve your questions as fast as possible and to the best of our ability. So if a text or an audio or a video response is not good enough, we will surely call you on your phone or we'll set up a Skype chat or a Google Hangouts chat and resolve your issues, right? The next thing is, please check our emails from AppliedAI course because you'll get responses to every query, every comment that you have placed here. Because if you place a comment and forget about it, you're not learning anything. We actually send you an email saying, this is the question that you asked on this page and this is the response, right? So please check your emails from AppliedAI course because you get responses to your queries and comments. And we often send additional reading material, blogs, videos, nice content that we come across on weekly basis, right? So we also send you your progress report on regular basis. Typically weekly is what we are sending nowadays, right? So you understand how much content you have done, how much work is still pending. And we actually post a lot of job postings of companies that we have tied up with, and most importantly, companies that are working with us to hire people. And we also post a lot of interview preparation tips. We also post how to do portfolios, lots of stuff like that. So please don't ignore the emails from AppliedAI course. Please take some time to check them at least once every 2 to 3 days, or preferably every day. Next comes the very interesting concept of assignments. We have 2 types of assignments, mandatory and optional. The mandatory assignments are mandatory for your job guarantee, right? Because for your job guarantee, we have a job guarantee or a cashback program. For the job guarantee or cashback program, you need to finish all the mandatory assignments because that's the only way we know that you have actually spent time and you can actually solve real world problems. Right? So to do that, we use Google Classroom. So as soon as you register for the course, you get an email saying, please join this Google Classroom with your Gmail account. Please join that course. And it looks somewhat like this. So let me go to a Google Classroom, right? And so we don't put everybody in one classroom because different students join us at different times. right? So we group people in maybe 100 or 200 students together and put them in one Google Classroom. So as soon as you go to the Google Classroom, you see your mandatory assignments and optional assignments, right? While mandatory assignments are needed for job guarantee, optional assignments are additional assignments that you can choose to do or not do. If you want to learn more, feel free to do them. It's up to you to do it, right? So if you click on the mandatory assignments, you get this link. If you click on the mandatory assignments, you get this link, right? You get a bunch of assignments here. Suppose you want to, let's say, do this assignment. You just click on open. Suppose you want to submit this assignment, right? We give a lot of detail on where is this video, where did we explain this assignment, etc. Just go click on open. It'll give you a page like this, right? You just need to add your files. So whenever you're doing an assignment, please add the IPython notebook. If you don't know what an IPython notebook is right now, it's okay. You learn it in this course. Okay, and also the PDF version of this IPython notebook. Please don't add any other files, because all we need to validate it, because we know the data sets very well, right? We have seen hundreds of assignments being submitted already. So our recommendation to you is please submit the IPython notebook and the PDF version of the IPython notebook so that we can quickly validate your assignment and check what is happening. And at the end, after we evaluate the assignment, we will give you a phone call or on WhatsApp, and we'll give you comments for each of the assignments on what are the mistakes in this assignment, how it could be improved, and things like that. We also explain you on WhatsApp or phone call on ways to improve this assignment and our feedback for it. Please, the most important part is we do extensive plagiarism check. So please don't copy someone's code, because we have built a very, very thorough system using state-of-the-art in plagiarism detection, which are used at some of the top universities and companies in the world, right? So if you copy paste someone else's assignment, we'll quickly detect it, and we will inform you the first time. We'll give you a couple of warnings. After that, we'll just throw you out of the course. Okay, one time mistake is okay, but if you repeat that more than 2 times, we will simply throw you out of the course, and that we will not excuse plagiarism. You cannot simply copy paste someone's code. Okay, especially if you're doing the whole assignment. It's okay to use some code snippets. It's okay to use some code snippets. It's okay to use some code snippets from the internet, but modify them, understand them, and put in your own code, right? So please avoid plagiarism at any cost. And you should save your work, all the assignments that you're submitting, all the IPython notebooks and PDFs. Please store them on your own Google Drive, because if your laptop crashes, you don't want to lose all of your work. So whenever you finish an assignment, just upload it to your personal Google Drive. And many times, because since all of our assignments are coding assignments, we should learn to debug code. Suppose you get an error. Error something, 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 right? Okay, error, let's say memory error, something like that. Suppose it gives some error, right? First thing you should do is copy this whole error and put it in Google search. Somebody would have faced a similar error like yours. Especially, you will find lots of good error resolutions on Stack Overflow. Just copy paste this error as is in Google search, and you'll get resolution very fast. This will actually, we have seen a lot of people who just, as soon as they get an error, copy it and send it to us. It will take us some time to answer. It's much, much faster for you, because the answer is right sitting in front of you on Google search. If you just copy paste it, you'll get the answer in like a minute. And you're also learning to learn here. Remember, you're also learning to learn. You're also learning to learn here. Because once you finish this course, there is nobody whom you can quickly send an email and get a response. You should learn to debug your code and understand what's happening, right? So I hope this video has given you a good idea, overall idea on how to successfully complete this course and make the most out of it. We are here to help you in this whole journey. It's not a shortcut journey. It's not simple. It requires a lot of hard work, patience, and discipline. But here we are to help you in every step in this course. But we need you to put in the effort to start with.